Was difficult. The transition was very difficult. My son with me at the time, and a lot of difficulties with childcare. It was very expensive. I was paying 1,500 a month for my son. No trains, there's no buses. You literally will be stuck waiting for someone to take you.
Everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lynda Eze. Today we have another familiar face. I'm not sure if you have met her before, but if not, she's here on YouTube as well. Her name is Lola. She's going to tell us everything, how she saw the US, what made her to go back to the UK.
My name is Lola, UK USRN. So USRN before, back in 2013. I was in the US for about 2-ish years before I came back to the UK. But I was originally trained in the United Kingdom as a RN.
So I'm interested in knowing the reason why you decided to go to the US in the first place and the reason why you decided to leave the US again. I mean, why would you do that? Was there a particular thing in the US that made you leave?
I did not go through an agency. Like, I was married. So I went with a K1 visa. So my process was relatively quick. Within 6 months, I was already in the US with a K1 visa. So those of you who have spouses who are Americans, that process is a lot quicker than going through an agency. So now I'm back. I came back to the UK, and I think Lynda wanted to know the reason why I came back. It wasn't because US was terrible. I don't want to put anybody off, because actually I lived a very good life in the US, but it was difficult. The transition was very difficult. I mean, from your experience as well, the adjustment of, moving from one country to another, getting used to the culture, not having family around to help support you. And I had my son with me at the time, and a lot of difficulties with childcare. Dad was traveling a lot, so it was really more on me. So it was a really difficult transition for me. And then he was always sick, and the nursery would call me and say, come and take your child. Anyone who knows the American system, they are not family orientated. They are not tolerant of, I don't have childcare today, I can't come to work. You will literally lose your job if you don't have childcare. So you have to sort all of these things out before you leave to go to America. There are more childcare facilities here in the UK than there is in the US, because you're always sort of like, and it's a very expensive childcare in the US as well. Like, the nurseries are very expensive. I was paying 1,500 a month for my son to attend nursery. So when you think of how much you're getting paid and then how much you're paying out for childcare, it's an awful lot. So always, I mean, the advice I would give people is, if you have children, please sort out your childcare before you leave, because that was the reason that brought me back to the UK. Okay, so it really was a hard, transition. And then, of course, the adjustment for me as well, because at the time I wasn't driving. And just some tips for anybody that's coming: please make sure you're driving, you have a driver's license before you go. There's no trains, there's no buses. You literally will be stuck waiting for someone to take you from A to B if you're not driving. And that was the situation with me. So that seclusion, and then missing family as well, and the support, that wasn't there. So that was the reason why I came back. But America is a great place to go. There's plenty of opportunities there for you. If you're going in as a nurse, lots of job opportunities, a lot more money than you would earn in the UK or any other country, depending on where you're coming from. It's just that you need to have everything intact, especially when you have children, before you go over to the United States.
Thank you so much for that. And I am really excited to hear that perspective from you, the childcare, the difficulty in transitioning. And for some reason, I'm appreciating the fact that I moved with an agency, because with an agency, once they come, they help with all the transitioning, the credit card, making sure that before I even started work, I already had my driver's license. So my first day at work, I was already going with the car and everything. And so I did not experience, even if you have children as well, I have 2 kids. So if you have children as well, they give you like this extensive orientation of what to do with your children and everything. Yes, where I am right now, it's not like UK where they don't give excuses of, oh, I can't come to work because of childcare.
Yeah.
It's not like UK where people can call and say, I can't come today because someone did not show up or something like that. I don't see people do that, but they still, like, maybe not me, but I've still seen people, like, if their children are sick, they call in and say they are not able to come because their children is there. But it's not like as often as we experience it in the UK. So I feel like, and again, you lose, I think people lose their job if they don't like meet up with certain things. So even if you keep calling in, it's like they record it for you or something like that, which we don't really see in the UK. But then the childcare, I've not experienced it that way. Where my child is going, they are really very supportive. I feel like they're even more supportive than where she was going in the UK. But it's good to have this perspective so that if you're planning to go to the US, at least you know that my experience will not be the same with yours. You want to really plan everything to a T and then decide whether if transitioning is a very big thing for you. Even though I used an agency and I've stayed in the UK, even the transitioning was a bit like, oh my God, I passed through this stage. Why did I even move to the US? But then at some point it didn't take me a long time to adjust, because for some reason with agencies you get comfortable very quickly, like get a good house, get a good car, and then when they start paying you as well, like it's a lot different, so you can easily settle quickly. That's my experience as well. So I'm really happy to hear that perspective from her as well, so that it's not like where you just go and then you settle and relax like that. So thank you so much for sharing that. So in easy ways, can you really share exactly what you do for now? Because it looks like you have been a UK RM for a long time and a US RM for a long time. Now, have you seen exactly how registered nurses in the UK can meet up with the CGFNS? Is there a clear way? Because I've spoken with someone on Instagram that wants to come to the US recently, and she told me she got a job and she is trained. She had her RN from the UK and she was able to do that. So do you know exactly, do you have the steps on how people do that these days? Do they have to take courses?
Okay, so I've had a lot of people messaging me on Instagram with the same problem, and it's mainly the UK nurses that are having this problem with the credential evaluation. Now, I am looking into, I have somebody that's actually made an application, which she's keeping me informed of how her process is going. CGFNS seems to be the more difficult one for UK RNs, where they literally are saying that you don't meet the requirements because you're missing those hours in maybe mental health or P's or whatever. And it also depends on what university you went to. My advice to people is, that's the student nurses who are just going into nursing now, or who are maybe halfway through their nursing practice. They need to find out from the university if those hours are part of that course, of the nursing course that they're doing. Now, if it is not part of the course, you will need to find a way to meet those hours before you graduate. So for those of you who are already qualified as nurses, many years ago, City University used to do that transition course. It was like, they would do like an essay or something that you would do in those areas that you were missing, like you'd write a reflective piece for mental health or child. And I believe it was quite a lot of money, like 1,000 something to do it. But they stopped the course. So that was that bridging to help nurses to get to the US. Now that they've stopped the course, and they stopped it many years ago, so that is not possible anymore for people to register for City University to go and make up those hours. So the only thing I can say